Okay, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Cindy, and I've been with NECS over 20 years. So my current title is Communications Quality Control. I host a lot of the Zoom classes that we offer on a monthly basis. I also help create content for Food Distribution University, which is our on-demand e-learning platform. I do some on-site training and lots of testing for the various modules that NECS offers. We also have Hazer, who is co-host today. So she's going to be answering any questions that you may have in chat. And she's also going to make sure that everyone stays muted during the presentation. Once the presentation is complete, then we will unmute everyone and have a Q&A session. This way it's not distracted and we're able to cover all of the material. So maybe right now take a moment and find chat in your toolbar. It's in your Zoom toolbar. So open that up so that at any time during the presentation, if you can't wait till the end and feel like you need to ask the question, just make sure that you present it to everyone, and Hazer will be monitoring chat and answer your question. So our speakers for today are President of NECS, Chris Sinatra, and Staff Software Engineer, Tony Vlahos. So without further ado, I'd like to now introduce Chris Sinatra.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Sinatra. A lot of you know who I am, but for those of you that are new or not familiar, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. But basically, I started NECS a while ago, literally back in the late 80s, began selling the software in 1990. And throughout the years, started with the DOS system and continued, the evolution from there to where it is today. So what we are doing is with this particular presentation, we're showing you guys some of the things that are going on behind the scenes here. Because if you don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes, by the way, we might want to mute some people. Okay.
Yep, I've been trying it. I think it's just.
Yeah, as they log on, she'll catch them.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so there's going to be two aspects of what we have in development that we're going to be talking about here. One is our new warehouse management system, and the other one is what we're calling Project Habanero, which is our new rethinking and modernization of our .NET online platform where your customers order. So with that said, that's my introduction. And I do want to say too that the company has been growing. We love what we do here, and we actually do love listening to you. And the whole goal is that when you guys grow, we grow. And we love our jobs and love developing software. And everything becomes like a win-win for everyone. So with that said, I'm going to have Cindy pull up the PowerPoint presentation. And then we're going to go from there. We'll get right into it.
Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, I see it.
You see it? Okay,
Yeah.
Let me just switch it around a little bit here. And we're going to swap. There we go. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, excellent. So this PowerPoint presentation is going to guide us through, what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about entree.WMS, which is our warehouse management system, takes the place of our old UPC system and EWM system. And then entree.NET Project Habanero, which is basically the next incarnation of the .NET platform. So with that, let's go to the next slide where we go over, I just have to read our safe harbor statement. The following is intended to outline our general product direction. It is intended for information purposes only and may not be incorporated into any contract. It is not a commitment to deliver any material, code, or functionality, and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. The development, release, and timing of any features or functionality described for our software remains at the sole discretion of NECS-Inc. And now that our attorneys are happy, we will go on to the next slide. Okay, so what are we doing here today, and what's the future of like these type of Zoom calls that we're holding? So Hasia and Cindy have been holding a lot of educational Zoom calls to go over features of the system, new features of the system, existing features, go into more detail, because a lot of times people don't know how to use them or understand the full comprehensiveness of what they might be. These type of calls, which will probably be a combination of myself and Tony Vlahos, are going to be held about once a quarter. That's what our plan is. So we've got some bullet points on the right-hand side. These types of meetings regarding new features, products, and their design to be scheduled once a quarter. So we're kicking this off in the second quarter of 2023, and we plan to have our next one sometime after July, when some of these products we're talking about are probably going to be ready. So the next bullet point says, and we'll give an update, obviously, as well. We'll go through where the status is with all of them and so forth. The next bullet point is that NECS wants to know your problems and understand how to make your business thrive. Absolutely. And we also, the third bullet point is interesting, because we've been talking internally here about forming a type of roundtable advisory board from our customers for vision direction, future moves, and plans. Because you guys are right into the heart of things. You know exactly what's needed. You know the problems that you have. You've got ideas about how to solve them. And whatever is appropriate, we want to be able to incorporate into our software so we can stay like on the leading edge and keep adding feature after feature that you're actually going to use. Now, the last two bullet points are, we're not going to talk about these today, but just as an example, these are two things that I'm allowed to mention. For those of you that integrate with QuickBooks, we have an online version of, because QuickBooks is online primarily now. So we have an online version integration that we've completed programming, but it's still going through a testing phase. And once it goes through that testing phase, we're going to be announcing that very shortly. And we're actually planning version 5 now. So you've got version 4. Version 5 is planned to be released in 2025. And that's going to have some really fantastic features. So I just want to mention that as well. 2025 version 5. So keep that on your radar. And as time goes forward, we'll be filling you in with what more of those details are. And Tony can correct me, but I think we've got a development team of at least 4 people now that are working on the version 5.
At least, yes.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Tony. Okay. At least four are fully into it, and then those in another supervisory position. Okay, so the first part of this presentation is going to be our introduction of entree.WMS, the warehouse management system, and how that works. So this part of the demonstration is when we actually get into it. Tony's going to go through that, but to kind of give you some highlights about what entree.WMS is that it replaces Entree UPC and Entree EWM, the electronic warehouse manager. It was created using Flutter, which is the latest software development tool by Google. And we actually, at the beginning, had started programming it in another tool. It just wasn't working out. We switched to Flutter, and it's amazing. We love Flutter. So if any of you are technical or into programming, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and how it works across many devices. Entree.WMS communicates securely with your Entree software via our new API called the WMS API, which can also be licensed to third-party WMS and 3PL software providers. So let's say you have another warehouse management system that you want to integrate into your Entree. We would license the WMS API to you, and then that other company that makes this other product, whether it's a warehouse manager or 3PL, could actually utilize that for communication with Entree, updating inventory, orders going in and out, POs being received, all that stuff is done automatically by that, and it properly updates your NECS data files. Entree WMS is designed to run across all modern Zebra scanners tablets and printers, including desktop printers and portable printers. And we chose Zebra because they have a lot of options, and they're doing a lot as far as being a leader in the whole barcoding industry. So will it work with other scanners and so forth? Possibly, but if you haven't purchased anything new yet, definitely focus on Zebra. And in a little bit, we'll have Harold tell you a little bit about that as well. I think there's another slide that talks about one of the barcode scanners, for example. Entree.WMS is going to operates on Android. So it's an Android application on both handhelds and tablets. And it interfaces directly with Bartender, which is a barcode printing software that some of you may already use. And if you have Bartender, it's very powerful. You know, you can actually create RFID labels with it if you have an RFID label printer, you know, made by Zebra. So Bartender is very extensive, and it's something that we're going to recommend. We do recommend as a way to, if you need to relabel your products, produce license plates, etc., that you use the Bartender. Some things you'll be able to do directly through the NECS system, but for those of you that want to get in there and really do some cool editing and so forth, your labels, Bartender is a great choice. Okay, so we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so what kind of devices will this run on? So this slide talks about specifically, this is a Zebra MC9300 scanner. You'll notice that the top of the scanner is actually a touchscreen. So it could be used as a touchscreen, or you could use the keypad below to navigate through the app. What's nice about this particular unit is that it's rated to operate in a freezer, according to Zebra, down to -22 degrees Fahrenheit. So a lot of you that have freezer requirements will want to look into this. And at this point, Harold, do you want to say anything about the MC9300 or any other of the Zebra devices availability?
So we've already had a few clients order the scanners, and there are a couple different variances on the MC9300. We have basically, I won't say it's a run-of-the-mill MC9300, but it's a heavy-duty scanner, as Chris just alluded to, that can go into freezers, coolers, operate in -22 degrees. And then they have a model that's almost identical that is specifically freezer rated. And so there's a slight cost variance, but these particular devices will enable you to pick dry, pick in the cooler, freezer, and they're, you know, backed by a standard 1-year warranty, but Zebra also offers what they call their one-care warranty, which can extend the life of the warranty up and beyond that by an additional 3 years. And we certainly recommend that. I think it's going to be the choice of a lot of our clients. And we also have, for some of our beta clients, as some of you probably are, that are using smart devices also made by Zebra. We are a Zebra partner reseller, and we also can obtain for you the Zebra printers, whether they be the standard label printers or the RFID printers when that becomes a little more fashionable. And the paper and any other accessories that you might need, I'm sure can be purchased locally. But since we are a partner reseller, I think we can get you a pretty decent price on it and drop ship it to you if necessary. So NECS is fully pledged to support the Zebra products. And there's probably going to be some other offerings down the road, but as Chris said, this is kind of where we concentrated our effort. And the other item, aside from this particular scanner, that clients are probably going to be looking at is the L10 ruggedized tablet, which uses embedded multimedia cards instead of, you know, the SSD drives that you find in laptops, but the L10s can operate in the same kind of environment. They're rugged with a handle. And for those people that want to use a tablet similar to the EWM tablets, like the Android you've been using, you'd be able to use those as well. those are two of the items that I think our clients would probably zoom in on. And we can get you all the pricing availability when you're ready. And we've already placed, just in the past week, some Zebra printers, some Zebra guns in anticipation, because who knows what's going to happen with supply chain. At any rate, that's the broad overview, Chris. And if anybody has any questions, you can always email me or give me a direct call, and I'm more than glad to help you.
Thanks, Harold. I also wanted to say also that if you currently are using UPC or you're currently using the Electronic Warehouse Manager, WMS works with both those platforms. So you could actually use this in conjunction with what you're already using from NECS. So just something to keep in mind. They kind of play together nicely, so to speak. The WMS will have more features like multi-zone picking, so you could have different users in different zones picking, where EWM and UPC don't support that, but you could use them together. And that's what our beta customers are doing now. Some are using EWM, they already have an EWM system, or they've got an older UPC, and they're doing all their testing, you know, with the new app that we've created. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Chris, we have a question on the Zebra. Should I wait till the end of the thing, or should I ask Harold now?
Sure, you can ask Harold.
So Harold, if we purchased, Cash is asking, if they purchase the handheld scanners through NECS, would NECS be our point of contact for IT rather than Zebra?
Harold, you have to unmute yourself. Okay, I wonder if Harold stepped away.
Gotcha. Okay, so we can wait till, I don't know if anyone else, yeah, we can wait till the end, sorry.
Okay.
I also want to mention that we did put a sell sheet in the chat. So if you go in there, there's other hardware that is supported with WMS. So if you're curious, I just wanted to let you know that document. He should put that document in chat.
Okay. And just, I'm not going to answer the question. Oh, Harold, are you back?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. I had to find myself, Chris.
Okay.
So at any rate, in answer to Hazier's question, we plan to be able to, we have the staffing to be able to help someone get the, you know, the guns operational. If we don't, we can put you in direct contact with a Zebra Care representative. And so we'll be able to handle it in both directions.
Yeah, and there's still some details too about that we'll probably be working out. So we'll definitely,
We have a distribution line, so I support, you know, any client that needs to get their gun operation and up and running.
yeah, we're definitely going to recommend that 3-year care protection, just to make sure in case the unit gets dropped or something happens to it, that there's protection for that, and you can get a turnaround real fast. And some people will probably order an extra scanner or two just to have it, for yourself in case something were to happen. So, all right, Cindy, if you could go on to the next slide, we're going to talk about the 3 phases. Okay, so basically, we're going to be releasing the WMS system in 3 phases. Phase 1, which is now in beta, is expected to be released July 1st of 2023. And then there's going to be continued enhancements of that. We've got a set number of enhancements we're going to be adding to that till the end of the year. So there'll be a version 1.0 that comes out, then a version 1.1 with another major new feature, then a 1.2, then a 1.3, and a 1.4, and so forth. So then we're going to have phase 2, which is going to be more advanced features, and then a phase 3, which will be to the moon features. But right now we're focusing on phase 1. And Cindy, if you could go on to the next slide. So talking about phase 1, which has a release date starting July 1st, it's going to have all what we consider all the core WMS features supported on handheld devices. You'll be able to pick invoices by pick list or picking by route. You'll be able to receive purchase orders. You'll be able to do transfers in, transfers out. You'll be able to print barcodes when you need to for, whatever the purpose is. Lot support is a big thing. So lot support throughout the entire picking and receiving process. Zone picking by temperature zone, so that if you're picking, it's not going to be just one person can pick, but you'll be able to have, if you've got multiple temperature zones, those zones like freezer, et cetera, can pick their part of it while the dry picks their part of it without it being locked out, so to speak. So we've opened that up, calling it zone picking. Relabeling and label printing, inventory counts, which is like basic physical adjustments, and of course, multi-warehouse support, which is a big thing. Okay, if you can go on to the next slide. So phase 2 features multi-warehouse location lot tracking, pallet license plates, warehouse slot locations. By the way, I'm just reading these off. A lot of you probably already know what these mean. Inventory putaways, movements and replenishments, cycle counts by slot location, and any required support for the Food Modernization Safety Act. And then we'll go into the next one, phase 3. Innovative features such as support for RFID barcode labels, including automatic inventory counting via RAIN RFID antennas, which is going to be a big thing. Or when products come into the warehouse, they'll go through there'll be like an area where when products get wheeled in and everything in that pallet just gets read immediately, like in a second. All the weights, all the catch weights, all the lots, all the specifics, all the items that happen to be going in and out of certain locations get counted and purchase orders, adjusted and so forth. Advanced shipping notices. This is going to be a big thing too. Traditionally, there's the whole concept of an ASN or an advanced shipping notice and how that works. But basically you would, just another way, you would scan the barcode that comes in that has one of these advanced shipping notices on it. And then everything that's on that pallet gets immediately read into your inventory file. Another concept is called perfect pallet configuration and truck loading. And then another item is what we call warehouse traffic control, which is similar to an air traffic control screen. So you can visualize incoming and outgoing inventory in real time, which is going to be a cool thing. So that gives you an idea of the features and the different phases. So, okay. So in this next part of our presentation, I'm going to turn things over to Tony, and he is going to connect his Android device so that we can view it. And he's going to be giving us an overview of basically how the WMS system works for the invoice picking workflow. And the PO is pretty much very much identical. So if you understand how to pick an invoice, you'll understand how to receive a purchase order. So Tony, are you ready?
I'm ready, Chris. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about as far as the zone picking. We have an idea that we're working on right now. What we'd like to bring is item level locking. So you can send 2-3 guys out into the dry area of your warehouse. And as soon as a guy picks one item, he gets the lock for that specific item. So you can have as many people as you need picking on one order. We're still working on how that's going to look inside the system, how notifications can be sent back and forth to the other devices, but we hope to bring that in phase 2.
Excellent. By the way, Tony, for people that don't know you, because some people are new, give us tell us about yourself. Who's Tony Vlahos?
Yes, I'm Tony Vlahos. I've been part of the software engineering team here at NECS since 2000. Prior to that, I worked in the family food distribution business in the Boston area. We used to use the NECS DOS system to run our business, so I have a very long history with the company. And not only am I just a software developer, I've been down in the trenches, being in the warehouse, picking, receiving, driving trucks, in the produce market, making purchases, negotiating with this, that, dealing with drivers, dealing with people coming in, dealing with people calling out. So, I mean, I've done a lot before I was reborn as a software engineer. I try to leverage that experience into making Entree the best possible product for you, our distributors. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, are you ready to launch?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
And do I have screen share capability? I do. Put that up. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, can you see the Android emulator on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our home screen, our launch screen. Authentication into the WMS system is handled by an Entree user account. So your warehouse staff would just get an Entree account. Security management is the security management system in Entree or through the WMS server directly. So I'm going to log in here. And then this first screen you can see is the dashboard for today, April 6th. And I have a couple of things loaded up. There's a lot to unpack here on the screen. I'll try to do it quickly and efficiently. So this first one, you have 3 invoices. We have color symbols as well as shape symbols to indicate different statuses. Red square means it's been not started. Yellow triangle means it's in process. And green circles mean that it's completed. Similar tile for purchase orders. There's 2 of those. We have a couple of other items on this landing page, such as identify inventory, transfer in, transfer out. If you notice, barcode management's grayed out. If I tap on that there, it says that I'm not allowed to use the feature. Much like the main Entree, you can turn specific features on and off for the WMS system. So if a feature is not available to a particular user, it'll appear grayed out. And if they try to tap on it, it'll give them the message that they're not authorized. There's a slide feature. You're not going to be able to see me doing it, but if I slide my finger to the left, you can see I can go to the next day. And you can continue going that way into the future, or you can go to previous days as well. Clicking the up in the top area here, there's a little icon with the number 6 on it. That's for the 6th of April, which is today. If you click on that, it quickly brings you to today. Or there's a calendar icon next to it where you get a calendar control and be able to select your date. We're going to jump into the invoice picking screen. All of your routes that are available would be here on this screen here. Down here in the bottom, we have a few controls. Common theme you'll see in the application is this taskbar at the bottom. If we wanted to filter invoices, we could show only completed, only in progress, not started routes. And then we could hide printed invoices or display printed invoices. And the ability to reset. Now to close this dialog, and you'll see these little overlays throughout the application, you can either click the little X button up here on the top, or you can just grab anywhere on it and drag it down to the bottom and just wisp it away. So we'll go into the route here. This particular route has 3 invoices, and we have some tiles on there. You can see that we have the company name at the top, what city they're located in, what stop number if available, their invoice number, the gross weight, the number of units to pick, and this icon here if the document is in an unprinted state. If you were showing printed documents, that would be black, filled in. It would be grayed out, and it'd be a green check over it, indicating that it's already been printed. So from here, again, we have a little taskbar at the bottom. There's another filter. We can hide completed. We can show in progress. We can show not started. We can update for print status, all or unprinted. And then over here on the right, we have a little thing here for unprinted invoices. As you can see, it's grayed out. I don't have access to that. And probably most of your warehouse staff wouldn't have access to it. It's more of a supervisory level function. That invoice actually got printed in the office and accidentally got printed in the office, and it needs to be unprinted to begin picking the product. All right, so moving into here, we'll go into this first stop here, 2 extremes, and we have a bunch of items on here. You can see that the top tile up here says we're ready to scan items. We have a little flashing scan icon, knowing that this is a screen that you can scan on. Here are the items on the document, on the invoice that need to be picked. You know, that up and down, you can scroll to get to the whole order. Before we get into scanning, again, we have that application bar down here at the bottom. Hitting the paper icon with the folded tab gives you information about the screen that you're on. So we're on an invoice screen, so it's going to give you the invoice details. So that you have the ship to location, if there was a comment on the invoice, invoice number, revision information, order date, delivered date, route, stop, contact, print status, and some billing information. This can be enhanced further if you guys feel that you need more information there. It's not a huge ordeal to get additional detail information. This is our baseline. So,
Tony, can I interrupt you for a second?
sure.
I was wondering if you could explain how, like, we've developed this for like the smaller footprint devices and how this will scale up if they're running it on a tablet, and a lot of this information would actually be there right in front of them because of the screen real estate. So
Yeah, great point, Chris. These Zebra handheld devices, they are a smaller unit. As you kind of saw on the other, I'm using a TC21, which is a handheld unit, but the guns, they have small screens. So when we scale up to a tablet, yes, there'll be more real estate. We'll be able to put more items on, more data, more widgets on one screen, so you don't have to drill in as much to see additional details. And we're going to be working on the larger format in the coming months.
thank you.
So moving to the next little button here, with these little lines, this is the sort icon. And you can say, all right, I want it right now, it's by description, but if we want to go to warehouse location, we could do that. And then it's going to snap into by warehouse location. The next thing we want to look at is filters. We have filtering for cooler, dry, refrigerated, frozen. So if you're not in the freezer, you can turn those frozen items off. You can have items that are completed, drop off, etc. So we have a bunch of filtering to control what that user experience is. And then we have an action menu down here on the right, which we're going to get into this in a little bit. This is for other operations. So if we want to start, I'm going to scan some items. I have some barcodes here that I'm going to start scanning. And all right, so now we've scanned one. You can see that here, this chicken diced ½ inch has come into view. You can see information about it, such as the location, the box, the pack size. We've now picked one of 5. This is the serial number for the box. Here's the lot number, and here's the weight that was captured. A couple more things about these tiles. I didn't get into them before. Again, the square for this hasn't been started yet. The snowflake indicates it's a temperature zone of frozen. The description, your entree item number, warehouse location, unit of measure, pack size, what you've picked over what is required. You can see down here, this one with a fan is a cooler and a, so let's pull this up so you can see all of them. The cooler is the fan, the dry is a droplet with a dash through it, and the refrigerator is the little truck. So those icons are reinforced, but they kind of give you that temperature zone here on the side. If we wanted to scan another one of those items, you can see, all right, I scanned the same box. It will not let you scan duplicate serial numbers. We'll clear that error. and get a different one. Okay, so now we have 3 of those on there, different serial numbers for that particular item. If I was to tap on that tile on the top, it'll bring up the product information for the item. You can see here that it's got scans on it, lot numbers and weights. There's another little details button here. If I click on that, you can get the full product details. Again, we can add more information to this if it's necessary as we continue to develop this and get customer feedback. But there's the full product details. You can drill into that. This is also where, if your user account is authorized, you could do a manual entry where you would enter in the lot number and a catch weight. And that would be added as a manual entry on the order. So if you had the barcode that wouldn't scan, that's how the operator would be able to capture that information and put it on the order. We'll slide that one away. And again, ready to scan. Oh, I must have hit the wrong button. We'll get back in there in a moment. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so here again, as we talked about before, you can see that the end process, you can see the fully captured one on that one there. We have the tortillas and scan those. You can see those come in. We capture the serial number, and there's the second one. So that's a quick walkthrough of what the invoicing interface looks like on the WMS system.
Tony, did you go through the at the bottom right, those 3 lines?
Oh, sure, I can hit that through. So that there gives up a little menu. So there's a few things here. There's a bulk scan mode. So if we wanted to do a single scan on the beer brats, we could do that. And then there's a remove scan if we need to take something off. Now the remove scan brings up an overlay where you can scan off the items that need to be removed. So if we were to take the tortilla that we scanned, you can see that one came off. The second one came off. And then you could go through and remove your scans that way. The final one is to finish the invoice. Print labels is not completed yet, but finish would save the invoice. You get warranty not finished. Do you want to mark it as finished? No, I don't. I just want to finish it. And it brings you back into the main picking screen.
So if the person is authorized, would they be able to send the command to print the invoice right from the warehouse as soon as they're done picking?
Yes, that's a feature that's coming. Also, there's a question, does it block you from scanning more than what is on the PO invoice? Yes, it does. I know I overscanned in my demo, but it will warn the operator for overpicks if they're allowed, and if they're not allowed, it will be a hard error.
Yes, say something too about the how the device with the sound and the vibration works as well, because I think with this emulator, we can't get a feel for that.
Sure, there's different sounds for errors. There's 3 different sounds. There's a warning sound, there's a success sound, and there's an error sound. And when an error sound is played, it will do a vibration in the hand called haptic feedback. So even if it's a loud warehouse, the operator that's holding it should feel the vibration in the device when there's an error condition. mispicks, if an item is not on an order, if we want to go back into that one. I have another code over here. That I don't believe we have on there. The scanned item was not found on an invoice. So substitutions is a great question. Phase one, we're not allowing for it, but absolutely part of phase two, you could make authorized substitutions and do a substitute on the floor based on what was predefined.
Okay, was there anything else related to the main menu, or maybe just explain, without going into it, just explain how the POs would work?
Yeah, I mean, the POs are identical to what you see here on the invoicing screen. It's document based. You would come in on the document. So here we have a route on a purchase order. This would be all the vendors with POs inbound, and then they would click into that vendor, and then all their POs would be listed out. You click into a specific PO, and all the items to receive would be listed here. The UI is identical. So with the intention of training in one spot, you're going to get all of, know how to use the entire system. Transfer in, transfer out, reading, received by item. Again, it's the same type of thing, a little bit different. It's going to have the same overlay, except you're going to start with nothing on the document. And as you start scanning items, you're going to build up this workflow, and you're still going to have a very similar tile with the same type of information. You're not going to have a progress indicator because we don't know how many how many you're going to scan, but you'd have your temperature zones, you'd have your information. It would be a very similar look and feel. So once an operator knows how to operate in one utility, they should be able to operate in the others very seamlessly.
Okay, so Cindy, do you want to or Hazer, mention to Tony any of the couple of questions that came in?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hazer.
So the first one, which I think Cindy's already answered, is what about additions? Customer calls and adds something once picking has already begun.
Yes, so if picking is ongoing, that means the warehouse has the item locked, and they're not going to be able to, has the invoice locked, and they're not going to be able to add to the order. Once it's been released from the warehouse, a representative could add to the order, and those will be flagged as add-ons, and they'll show up in the device to be picked, and they'll be handled in a special add-ons only display. But again, it would be the initial thought is the top of one of these bars is going to display like an add-on banner on the top of it, so you quickly can see add-ons, and you'll also be able to see a put away banner too. So if they had 5 and they wanted to reduce to 3, you'd have a tile there that 2 need to be put away.
Yeah, and for those of you that are that use EWM, you know how we do it there too. We break it down by revisions. So if add-ons came in under revision A and another batch came in under revision B, they'd be broken down so you could see what was picked under each revision. So.
And then we have another question from Kasha. You stated in phase 1 there are no substitutions can be scanned. Can we manually add them? That
would be handled inside of Entree. You would manually make the substitution in Entree, and that would show up on the device to be properly picked. So the first item couldn't be picked because you didn't have it. Or if you're taking some off to give them to somebody else, it would show up as a put away on the ones that were previously picked, and then the addition substitution would be shown up as an add-on.
So, thanks, Tony. And Nick Dean, so he's asking, what does it look like to load these barcodes into our system? I don't know if we're going to be talking about that, but
I can get into that there. Not a problem. Let me just finish this. No, I'm going to go back to the home screen. And there is a,
Yeah, tell everyone what button you just pressed to pop up that menu.
okay. So I was in here, there's a little truck icon at the top, which will quickly bring you back to the dashboard. So that's what I went to do. Now barcode management, I do not have access to. If you'll bear with me 1 second, I can see if I'll get that corrected. And right now I'm just logging into the WMS server to adjust my password settings, for my user permissions. I'd show you, but it's a pretty boring screen. Maybe it's a bug that's not showing up on there. Settings, barcode definitions, right here. And I'd scan a barcode to identify it. Let me take an arbitrary barcode. Okay, so I just scanned this barcode. It tells me here that the scan has been captured. It's code 3 of 9, code 39. This is the data that was contained inside of it and the timestamp that it was captured. I could capture an image of the item. Just do a picture of a cell phone for this. But if they wanted to capture the case image, you could go ahead and do that. That would get attached to that. And this will be my sample definition. And then I would save that, and that would go into the system. Then in Entree, again, as we were talking earlier, this is a small format device. There's not really enough room to do a barcode definition on the TC21 or the other Zebra handheld devices. So you go into the Entree system, and these would be queued up. You'd be able to see that picture, whatever text was written, and do the definition inside of Entree. Once the tablet version is released, you'll be able to do it all on the floor with the tablet device. So does that answer your question?
I would actually just want to add to that too. So this is for this type of thing, is I call it like the Wild West of barcodes, because sometimes, some manufacturers may be using their own way of doing a barcode that does not adhere to like what a standard should be, like GS1 barcodes, GS1 128 barcodes, which have set parameters. So if you ever look at your items and the barcode that's on the case, and you see, all the series of numbers that are below the barcode, and below each series, you see a number in parentheses, that's a code so that we already know, like 03 means a lot number. I'm just making this up. It comes up next, and then the weight is next, and then the serial number. So those numbers in parentheses tell us what it is. Those type of barcodes are easy, and the system can automatically read those. And the whole world is moving to that format. So I feel in the future, doing a lot of these barcode definitions is going to be less and less and less and less as everything becomes more standardized. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
So yeah, here's one of those GS1 barcodes that Chris was talking about. You can see it's a much larger data stream, and there's codes embedded within that barcode. They're not explained here, but this is a very it's a very easy one. There's very little work. You just have to tell it what item number it is, and it'll be registered in.
Yeah, and by the way, these barcodes contain the GTIN number, global trade item number. And if your current inventory file maintenance doesn't have the GTIN number defined in it, the WMS system will automatically add it for you. So, and that'll have a lot of other advantages for you as well. So you'll know what the standard item number is that you've just scanned. So I wanted to throw that out there too. So a lot of times people have to be like, oh my goodness, I got to figure out everything's GTIN number and associate it to the right items. When you start using a system like WMS, it'll start populating it for you automatically.
There was a question from Henrik about, does this replace the rule set in EWM? It actually works in parallel. So if you've defined your items already in EWM, they come over seamlessly into the system. You won't have to redefine them.
Okay, and I'm gonna say too, for the sake of time, let's move on to what we're going to talk about next with Project Habanero. So Tony, be on standby again.
Okay.
Because you're gonna give us that show and tell, that sneak peek about what's going on. And Cindy, if you could bring back the PowerPoint, and we should begin with the Project Habanero sneak peek slide. Which will be the one right after this. Yeah, here we go. All right, Project Habanero. Got some bullet points I want to go over. This really is about entree.net version 2. So our entree.net system was created many years ago. It's very stable, but it still has that older look and feel that you can tell it's a system that was created some years ago. So we've been putting a lot of our development time into this particular project. The first bullet point is that we've updated development tools to provide a modern, robust, intuitive user experience. And I think when you see our demo, you'll see that. It includes all the same features your users count on, including generating reports, viewing scanned invoices, etc. It has easily customizable order guides using drag and drop thumbnails. It's user configurable, nested grouping and order guides and catalogs. So we'll show you these things. It has user activity logging. It includes enhancements to entree.pay, including scheduled automated payments. There's a concept called bring your own provider, which the concept is that for processing, credit card processing and ACH, we have a provider that works directly with Entree. But in the future, we're going to make it so that you can have your own provider hook into it. And, you know, if you have an agreement with your bank or something that's like amazing, and you want to keep that agreement going, there's a way you would be able to do that. We'll talk about that in the future. And the ability to make payments in Entree Express. So a lot of what we're doing with this main entree.net flows down into Entree Express as well. And there'll be also things such as product side-by-side comparisons. So let's say someone's always used to buying a certain type of chicken nuggets, but you really want to sell like this other chicken nugget. So in Entree, you'll be able to define if you want to have a side-by-side comparison so that your client could see like, this is what you've ordered, but this is what we recommend, like that, those type of concepts as well. So I want to go through those bullet points, and then now I'm going to turn things back over to Tony again, and then we'll finish off with any last questions and answers. But Tony, are you ready?
I am working on it.
There's a question while Tony's doing that, Chris. They're asking for a time frame on the .NET. Do we?
So we'll have Tony look into his crystal ball and tell us what he thinks is like from a software development point of view, going through all the testing. Tony, what's your prediction?
Yeah, it's coming before the end of the year. I'd like to see it by the fall, make its way into the field. We have about a team of 10 or 12 people working on this right now. It may be ramping up a little bit more. We have a lot going on with it, and we want to get it out in the field as quickly as possible, just like you. I'm sure you guys want to get it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is absolutely a WMS and the new .NET system are like, we've got a lot of things going on, but these are our two big priorities. We get asked about it almost all the time, every day. So we're constantly being reminded, and we know how important it is, you know, for you and for us. All right, Tony. So what are we looking at here?
All right, so these are our screen designs. This is not, full disclosure, this is not real data, but that what you're looking at right here are the blueprints. This is what we're building the system off from. And I'm going to kind of take you through some highlights of this, of the new system, what it does, what it looks like, what you'll be capable of doing, and then we'll open up to some questions. So this here is what a customer would see when logging in to the new platform. This is their dashboard. They would have orders here, payments that were made, what their balance due was, some reports here that they could click into, orders and account overview section. Pretty straightforward. The first thing I want to kind of get into is the ordering section. That's very important. Be able to place the orders. So here's ordering from a standard order grid. You can see that the columns are here. Now, all these columns, you'll be able to click a drop down and select which columns should or should not be displayed. You can drag and drop. You can change the sort by clicking on a column. That's all going to be there. Add an item, and it comes into this little plus minus feature, and you can increment those up and down off the order. There's also what we call a list view, which kind of gives you a bigger picture of the image. And again, you'd be able to add items from there as well. Up in the top here, you can see this little cart with the +10. If you click on that, you kind of get a quick little summary of what's in your cart on the floating toolbar. And you can kind of scroll up and down, modify quantities, delete items off the order, or you can click the button to actually go into your cart, which you'll see here. You get your estimated total on the side. Again, you can up and down, delete items, add a comment to your order. Now I want to go back to the home screen here, and then let's take a quick look at order guides. Oh, I want to go back for a second to the standard orders. Chris had mentioned it briefly, but I just want to reiterate that these items that are in the standard order guide, there'll be a handle over here, and you'll be able to drag these up and down, or the customer can drag these up and down to mimic what they might have their cooler set up as, or how product is set up on their shelves, to really make this work well for them. And that'll be saved and remember for the next time that they come in, that this is the order that they want to see the products in. You could also rearrange the groupings, and you're going to be able to group by any different columns. So you can group by classes or categories, and that's all specified by the user, how they want it grouped and how they want it sorted. Back into the order guides. All right, so you can create as many new order guides as you need. Create an order guide, and then you would add an item. And now, again, you go through here and you could select, search, pick all of your items that you want to add to the guide, and click the button, and then they would pop in underneath here. Again, you'd be able to drag and drop these to get them into the correct order, delete items off, so on and so forth. We'll go back to the home again, and we have a make a payment button over here. So if we want to make a payment, you would drop into the screen here. You could select what payment method you wanted to use if you had multiple. You can either check boxes to select which invoice you want to pay, or you could click into one of these boxes and partially pay an invoice. So we're going to select that, select a couple of items, hit the pay now, and it gives you a confirmation. Do you want to proceed? Yes, I do. And payment has been posted successfully. Speaking of payments, there's a payments menu up here where you can add payment methods, and you can add different types, ACH, credit card. Now, Entree, there's a couple of different things I want to touch on here in regards to payments. You can be set up to take credit cards or ACH. That's entirely your choice. If you only have one, they'll only be allowed to do that one on the website. They won't be able to add a ACH payment method if you only accept credit card, and vice versa. There's other customers where you say, you know what, I don't want you to pay on a credit card. It's too much service fees, your bills are too high. You can turn the credit card option off on a per customer basis, or ACH for that matter. So you have full control over, even if you're allowed to take both ACH and credit card, you can turn one or the other or both off for a given at the customer level. So drop down, select whether it's a credit card or ACH, the billing information, and it would go in and card numbers, bank numbers, etc. So that covers the payments. We also have a payment history screen. This shows by invoice each payment that was received and the invoice number breakdown. You can click on that invoice to see the full details, including the items that were on it from that screen. Similarly, we have CCH ACH transactions. Now this represents the total of the authorization amount. So if it was multiple invoices paid, you'd see a little icon like this, and you could click into each one. But you'd have one per transaction set on this screen. Last I wanted to touch on briefly was the little icon. So here's the user, and there's some quick things here. You could get into settings. Messages could be sent out. So there's another little menu here for access to other features. That is my quick, high level overview of what the new system looks like. I was hoping to kind of show you some of the live system, but I think that's going to have to come in our next one of these meetings. And I think we'll be a lot closer to a more polished product. We do have it running. There's servers stood up. There's some data there, but we'd really just kind of like to keep the veil on that for a little bit longer.
Great. Okay, so as you were going through that, some questions came in. I was wondering if maybe Hazer, did you want to ask Tony any of those questions?
I think one thing that came up are substitutions, the ability to have replacement items. If something's out of stock, then they can give their customers options for substitution.
That's a great idea, and one that we should record, Hazer, and we can build that in. Absolutely, it's an excellent idea.
Gotcha. Other thing here is some of these questions have been answered, but creating a user guide to provide to their customers when they transition to the new .NET. So I'm sure we'll have something like that, right, Tony?
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing is some kind of same-day ACH. So the ability to draft automatically the ACH upon delivery of the invoice.
Yeah, we today we offer ACH same day transaction. That's an option that you can get today in the current version of .NET.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there support to automatically add a credit card fee? I think that's something in Entree that we have currently. I don't know if it's going to be something that we can pass on to .NET.
What was that? What was that question?
Support to automatically add a credit card fee.
Yeah, that we can have that built in. If it's not already in .NET, then absolutely. If they're set up and we're able to put a service fee legally, because we can't do that in every jurisdiction. Absolutely, we can definitely have that done. And I believe that happens at the gateway. I don't believe that that's done inside of Entree. So if there's a transaction fee of say $3.95 or whatever that transaction fee is. And it's it's $100 order. The transaction will be for $100 to the distributor, but the person will be charged $103.95 tacked onto that entire transaction. So it would be seamless. You don't have to manage it inside of Entree or add it to the invoice. It happens at the gateway level.
Okay, cool. From Latina, they're wondering the timing on the payment piece where they can bring their own merchant, if that's something we're working on.
It's something we're working on. It will be coming by the time that this new platform is done. The issue is going to be it's API driven. So what that means is they would have an API and they would have to have their own programmers write some type of interface to extract open balances from the .NET system, which, you know, you'd make the API call, these customers open invoices, you'd process the payments and you'd post the payments back through the API to Entree, and they would be received inside of the main Entree system. That's how bring your own provider would work. Does that answer the question?
I think that's Latina. Yes, they said
Okay.
that answered it. For the custom for .NET, is there an option to send them a text and or a notification with a previous order or a recurring order that they've basically like forgotten to finish? I think I've gotten this question from other customers as well.
Again, keep that on a list, please, and we will build that in. That's a great feature request.
Rick is asking, is it possible to hide the payment or balance info from someone that is only the buyer of the company? So I think probably more.
Yeah, we could probably do something in that sense. In the login credentials that they don't have access to make payments and restrict that so that stuff disappears. Sure.
Okay, I think so far those are all the questions that we have right now.
I thought I saw one from John there about recurring order. Is that previous or recording order? I thought I saw one about having payments automatically pay on shipment. Those are all things that we do want to bring in, as well as, you know, automatically paying your bill at the end of the month. You set up and it automatically drafts whatever the balance is at the end of the month, or after 7 days when on the due date. So yeah, these are all exciting things that the pay platform was just launched this year, about a month ago, and we have so much more cool and exciting features we want to add to it, such as text message bill reminders, text to pay, all kinds of fun stuff that is going to be being built on this platform.
Gotcha.
One other thing I want to stress while we're here, and I have everybody's attention, is when a customer comes in and puts in a credit card here or puts in a bank account information here, it is stored at the gateway. Entree has zero credit card information, zero bank account information. We are PCI compliant. We just don't have access. So should an employee or anybody else gain access to your system, there is zero chance that they can obtain any financial data from any of your clients. It's 100% secure and held offsite.
Tony, with that said, we have a couple more questions. So the
Sure.
first thing is, will the Express app have Face ID login or fingerprint login?
Oh, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. We don't have plans to, but I think that that's something we could put on the wish list and bring it in at a future date. I do know we're going to be adding payment options to the Express app, but that's the first we've heard for Face ID or fingerprint login. But we did just add a Remember Me option, so once you log in, you won't have to log in every time.
And from George, MFA, multi-factor authentication, is available in the app, question mark. I think.
Not yet, but again, that's a great idea, and that's something that we can absolutely add MFA.
Oh, and
What
lastly,
is but before, you know, that was asked for. What type of MFA were you looking for? Were you looking for text? Were you looking for like an authenticator app, an email? What type of MFA?
George, maybe you can unmute yourself if you want to answer Tony's question on that. I don't know if you have a.
Or chat is fine. It doesn't matter. I'm watching the chat window. Okay, good enough.
And Tony, one more time, when is our expected release
Right.
time for this?
For the new version of entree.net is the fall of this year.
So the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yes.
All right, I'm holding you to it.
Okay. That is my expected release date, and it's not going to change. You can hold me to it. It's the expected release date.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think this is a Mark at Stanley Foods.
Hi, Mark.
And hey, to help that along, we're very interested in being an alpha or beta tester of the new .NET Habanero. So I don't know if you've got any others or got a list out there, but you know, any people who have that time and can put in that energy, which we can, love to do that.
That's great. We're not there yet, but that's one of the things I'm really pushing the developers hard is we do not want to do a 100% cutover. We want to bring on select customers slowly into the new system and, you know, work out any kinks and be able to immediately switch back to the old system if there's something, you know, that's just a showstopper that you need to get back and we can't work through, then yes, absolutely. We'll keep your name on the list when we get to that point.
Excellent. Yeah, and a good way to do that might be able just to mirror the older version, the new Habanero, and then switch it. And if there's a problem, just give a switch back and back up and running. You don't lose a beat.
You got it.
Okay, so I know for people that are like watching this in the future, I would just want to say if you're watching it on YouTube, thank you for watching till the end. Give us a thumbs up, please, to show that you appreciated this and you want us to keep going and creating these videos at least once a quarter so that you can see where we are in our development. And I want to thank Tony for going through and showing us all the new screens and giving us this special sneak peek about what's going on. There's other projects that we're doing that we're not ready to talk about yet, but I think you guys will be very surprised with what we're going to be coming out with over the next couple of years. So we've got a lot of things going on. So Tony, is there anything last minute you want to say before we end our presentation for today?
Just thank you to everybody that's in attendance. I know time is such a valuable resource. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with us to see where we're going and give us important feedback.
Yes, thank you. And if you wanted to reach out to Tony with any questions, Tony@necs.com. I'm Chris at necs.com. Harold will be able to help you out as well. You can send one to sales@necs.com, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions and be able to make these releases like everything that you're really expecting in the most timely manner that we can. That's going to, in the long run, impress your clients, because that's what the purpose of this really is to make their life easier, which makes your life easier. So thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Maybe before we end, does anyone have any questions? Do they want to unmute themselves and ask us questions, or was everything answered via chat? I just want to make sure we're not leaving anyone out. Okay.
All right, awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.